of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi which examines the Dharmas called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tadyata Om Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhiswaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, "Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have told, and the Tathagatas will rejoice." When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Now we generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I shall generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, so let's do a rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum. So when you're doing it, as I think I said last week, the thought of wishing to remove the suffering of others, which is compassion, that attitude of wishing to remove the suffering of others is what compassion means. That's Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of compassion, the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, who is the manifestation of compassion. So thinking, may I remove the suffering of all others, that's probably more important than the recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum. So putting them both together is particularly powerful. So, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So, do you like reciting a mantra at the beginning of class?
Yes.
Yes.
I also like what you would do in New Jersey, like a little meditation of like summing it up, or in the middle.
So, we're getting there. I'm just following the book. So, last week we were discussing taking a stance. We were discussing afflictive emotions and how dealing with those afflictive emotions is, I think, really the essence of spiritual practice. There are all sorts of nice feelings that we might be able to cultivate in meditation, but when we wrestle with the tendency to become angry, impatient, proud, desiring, arrogant. All it's the real enemy, the real opponent that we have along this path is dealing with this ego and in the sort of negative ways in which it expresses itself, and wrestling with that is I think really the essence of this spiritual endeavor. So that's where we were last week, and to find the page where we left.
You have to tell us.
Dana isn't here anymore.
Sorry?
Dana isn't here anymore.
Well, she would have.
Oh, he's going to tell us. Oh, he's going to tell us.
No, he's asking for help.
Yes, I am asking for help. Yes, I am.
Hmm.
I think it was 129.
Yes, 128. Thank you.
Page 128.
Yeah.
So I have it as, yeah, I marked May 5th, we ended at problematic. So my notes are taking a stance to deal with our destructive emotions, we must first adopt a stance of opposition. As I said last week, the essence of spiritual practice is the process of implementing that stance of opposition. So taking a stance is on 124. And so here on 128 we have, upon reflection, when we start to see that it is a mistake to understand the cause of our disturbing emotions purely in terms of the things or the people who trigger them, I must have missed a verb or something because it's not ending up as a sentence here. Upon reflection, then, we start to see that it is a mistake to understand the cause of our disturbing emotions purely in terms of the things or the people who trigger them. So here, and this is, I think, so fundamental. We are working towards understanding the problem not with the things that provoke us outside, but with us. If we step back and take some time to reflect, we find that even though our grievances may to some extent be legitimate, our feelings of irritation and frustration are actually rather unrealistic and often exaggerated beyond what the actual situation merits. We may also find that such disturbing emotions recur over and over, not just because of external factors, but also because they have become something of an emotional habit for us. So I think that I'd love to stop here and discuss a little bit, because this is really this shifting from pointing the finger out there for the problems that we are experiencing, or for our anger, or for our frustration, or for whatever it is, we tend to see the causes of these emotions as being out there. And here what we're trying to do is recognize that actually the problem may be here. What do you think of that? This is sort of major.
I agree. This is correct. I think everybody agrees with it.
Yes, but I mean, of course we can agree theoretically, but I think that it's more important for us to actually also acknowledge that our instinctual way of reacting is to put the blame on whatever is out there, and to recognize that tendency, and to recognize the dynamic or the way by which we do that. Because the way in which we then change that, the way in which we begin to assume responsibility for the situation, is by recognizing that and by developing what I keep referring to as the muscle of restraint. That muscle of restraint can only be developed by acknowledging that there's something we have to restrain ourselves from. And that, we have to see the way in which when we get bumped or hit or develop some kind of infatuation with something or whatever, that we consider that the instigator of whatever the dynamic is outside ourselves. It is only if we do that first that we can begin to pull ourselves back and assume. So I put it back out there. What do you think?
Well, go ahead. It's correct.
Very helpful, yes.
Watching, I guess it falls into the category of popular psychology. In other words, I watched a YouTube video, and of course, unfortunately, the internet has a lot of information, so, well, we don't know whether it's really information, but it purports to say that Paul Jung believed some of the most dangerous people were the people who believed that they were essentially good and they were always acting on behalf of other people. And with that point of view, it gave rise to the mindset that the problem must be outside. It must be you. It's not me, because I'm good. And that was the most dangerous thing he said, because when that happens, it probably, what accompanies that is the desire to self-justify one's actions. And therefore you never really learn what the result of those actions are.
Never actually learn what the result of those actions are. What does that, I don't understand that part of it.
There's no self-criticism. It's just simply self-justification.
So here we're trying to do more than self-criticize. Here we're trying to recognize that we tend to put the blame on the outside, recognize that in fact the blame may lie with me, and develop the ability to refrain from the immediate reaction of putting the blame outside. And that's a process. It's an exercise that we have to work at, because blaming the outside thing is instinctual. It happens without thought, and it happens too quickly for us to be able to. So we have to really work at exercising the recognition of what's happening and the ability to pull ourselves. And that I've I keep saying this, but I think that the development of that muscle is the essence of spiritual practice. I think that's actually what it's all about. It would be interesting to ask our new Pope what he thinks. And I don't mean that jokingly, I mean that seriously. Because I think that anyone who's really intensely working on himself or herself would see that as being the real work.
The other day, at my work, somebody made a mistake, and I felt my assistant made a mistake, and I felt frustration and anger comes up in me. Like I felt it, and I realized it's because my repetition wasn't mine, and I may look bad, and it's inconvenient for me. And it was not about the mistake, it was all about me. But I was blaming on somebody else. But I felt this frustration coming up. But then I started thinking about those things, and then, I mean, still, I'm not so good at it to, let it calm down, but it was all about me. That's why anger came. Just like last week.
Well, it happens all the time. So when we start to see things from this perspective, we can begin to recognize that these destructive emotions feed on themselves, and that the more they are indulged, the stronger they become. So that this sense of putting the blame outside and feeling justified in doing so, that actually is self-perpetuating. To realistically address such self-perpetuating destructive emotions, therefore, requires us to turn our attention to our own habits of mind. Instead of looking to blame others and the world around us, we should first look within ourselves.
I agree.
Okay. This is a point the 8th century Buddhist thinker Shantideva makes very well when discussing the problem of anger. If we wish to prevent our feet from being pricked by thorns, he says, it would be foolish to attempt to cover the whole world in leather. Much easier and more effective is to cover the soles of our feet, our own feet. In the same way, it's a mistake to think that we will get rid of anger by challenging everything in the world that makes us angry. Instead, we should look to change ourselves. Yeah, I agree too, but it's not easy to do. So this I've said this a few times, but I repeat it because I'm trying to sort of familiarize myself with this thought pattern. But not only are we working towards catching ourselves before we blame outside phenomena, people, whatever, for our frustrations. But if we accept the laws of karma, which I don't know how many of you do, but the more we the more we accept the idea that everything that we are experiencing is the result of our own past actions, then whatever challenge we face, we are on some level responsible for. So that when what we would call injustices occur, when we have bad luck of some sort, all the difficulties that we experience, if we accept this whole notion of karma, we are responsible for those situations. And of course the person has cheated us. And of course the whatever the situation is, yet even the situation within which we have been cheated, we are responsible for. And I repeat this because I think that to sit and think about that begins to change the way in which we interact with life, with the world. We suddenly view the difficulties that we experience in the 21st century, the injustices, the inequalities, all the things that bother us about our present day situation. And we begin to realize that on some level, I am responsible for that. I think that dwelling on that, I think that meditating on that, I think that contemplating that really helps change us at a deep level, and helps in terms of the immediate actual situations that we face that we're talking about here, helps us develop that sort of muscle of restraint to really consider that the whole situation that I'm experiencing is a manifestation of my own past actions. Then, as I get challenged, as I get pushed about, as I experience the results of my own past actions, I'll do so with more calm, with more patience, with more acceptance. And that change in the way I behave will affect the situation. I think that it's the most effective way by which we can contribute to the world in a positive way. We're not going to change the political situation today, but the way we behave in respect to this situation that we are the causes of is our contribution to bringing about a better world. This is I try to do this. I share it with you. This is what I find effective. It doesn't change the world much, but maybe it's the greatest contribution that I can make.
Yes. And may I interject something? I think it changes the world a lot, because every time we have a realization that brings us closer to understanding Dharma, each time that happens, I think it's a huge contribution to the world.
So the birds are chirping happily.
Yes.
So
might
with
be, blasphemous for me to bring this up, but recently I've been reading a history by Richard Evans, who's a British historian, about the history of Germany in the 1930s and 40s. And I was very impressed by this metaphor of the feet and either covering the world with changing the entire world, in other words, or changing ourselves. And all I can say is that at that point, if a certain leader did not do this, in fact, just the opposite, and convinced an entire nation to adopt this kind of worldview, we have to change everything, because everything we've been betrayed, and we have to change everything. And yeah, I just struck by that.
But that's the tendency. I think it's important for us to acknowledge. I mean, that's he took it to a sort of abhorrent level, but we all tend to do that. I mean, the way we work at taming our environment to make it fit, rather than working at accommodating our environment and finding peace of mind that way. It's the normal way. So, I mean, the practice that we're discussing is one in which we recognize that we have that tendency. We wish to pave the surface of, I would have major arguments with my fellow monks who desperately wanted to put cement all over the grounds of the monastery, thinking that it would, then it would all be nice and clean, and I was saying, well, maybe we could have flowers, and we could go about it that way, but the tendency to pave, which is sort of similar to putting leather all over the surface of the earth. We all have that tendency. So we have class online comments. We may never be able to avoid things that trigger us. However, we can work on how we react and deal with them, which is the spiritual work you are discussing. Leslie, I agree. Agreed, it's probably a lifelong practice. I've realized, Aradhana. Several lifetimes. Yes, Aradhana, several lifetimes. So it's not that we may never be able to avoid things that trigger us. So real spiritual work is working on how we react, deal with them. Yes. Yes, I agree. Okay, on we go. So, page 129. What anger most depends on for its perpetuation is our own inner dissatisfaction, the state of latent irritation or lack of contentment, which in Tibetan we call yi midewa. It is this general underlying mental unease which makes us susceptible to the triggering of destructive emotions, especially anger. So, the mind, the dissatisfaction with the way things are, mental unease. In that dissatisfied attitude or state of mind, we are particularly vulnerable to provocation, or vulnerable to having our minds become upset, and feeling that it is that outside stimulus that is to blame. Such inner dissatisfaction is the fuel upon which destructive emotions such as anger and hostility depend. Therefore, just as extinguishing the initial sparks is a more effective method of preventing fire damage than waiting until the fire is blazing, In the same manner, dealing with the underlying cause of discontentment is more effective, a more effective way to prevent destructive emotions from doing damage than waiting until the emotions become full-blown. Okay, so, but the problem is we have to recognize that we're doing that. The problem is that we have to develop the awareness necessary to see that we are in this process, and then the ability to refrain from engaging in this process. And that's really tough, and we can't expect to do so when we are right there at the point of being provoked. By that time, when we're there, and when whatever the provocation is arises, we're, for the most part, goners. And I think that recognizing that, knowing that, is we have to work on ourselves before we are provoked. We have to develop a familiarity with the way in which we react, and really recognize the process by which we are provoked, so that we can actually catch ourselves. That demands training, and I think that's really important training. I think that's real training. You know the story of the meditator who sat in his cave, and all he did was look at his mind, and every time he had a negative thought, he'd put a black mark on the wall of his cave. And when he began this process, the cave was black. And then slowly he developed the ability to refrain from these negative thoughts. And there were more white marks, until eventually the cave became white. So it's doable. And of course, having the self-discipline to go sit in a cave and do it is already an accomplishment.
That was Geshe Benjo?
I don't know. Geshe Benjo was the one who caught himself stealing.
Oh, caught himself stealing. Okay.
And caught himself in all sorts of
wrong.
The story of, he was sitting in a puja, and they were making offerings to everyone, and he was sitting there saying, they were offering yogurt. And all the monks had their monk's bowl, and the person distributing it was putting a little yogurt into each bowl, and he was watching, thinking, he's giving a lot, is he going to run out before he gets to me? And he was so worried that when the guy finally got to him, he turned over his bowl and said, I've already had lots with my mind. And so that's Geshe Benjo.
Would you clarify something for me? It says here, inner dissatisfaction.
Where are you?
What anger most offensive for its perpetuation is our own inner dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
You say that latent irritation. This to me, it suggests that these are things that dwell within us.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from? Is that simply the human condition?
I don't think that it's limited to humans.
Yes.
I watch our cat, and very sweet cat, but when he can be dissatisfied, irritated, lacking in contentment, and he lashes out and bites, and so I think it's.
He has claws. He lets you know he has claws.
So, the cat, the mosquito, I find mosquitoes very interesting to think about because they're really, really frustrating. You know, when you're trying to sleep and or whatever the situation is. And when you think about the fact that that mosquito has no malice, she doesn't want to harm you. It's just they are stuck within the situation of provoking in this way, that because that's the way by which they, you know, satisfy their need for your blood. Is that right? Is that? So, yeah, I think that state of dissatisfaction, latent irritation, lack of contentment are, you know, we talk about sentient beings. We are sentient beings. So one of the properties of a sentient being is some kind of a belief in the being aspect of that, not just the sentience, but the idea that I am an individual, and I wish to protect myself, and I wish to, you know, harm anything that challenges my security. Those, let's say, innate tendencies, they're there. And we are in the process of taking that whole dynamic apart and seeing that we could maybe find greater happiness by not being the victims of that instinctual vicious circle. But we are that it is instinctual. So I have a lot of lines next to this paragraph for myself to really think about. So I'm going to read it again. You can think about other things. I'm reminding myself. What anger most depends on for its perpetuation is our own inner dissatisfaction. The state of latent irritation or lack of contentment, which in Tibetan we call yi madewa. It is this general underlying mental unease which makes us susceptible to the triggering of destructive emotions, especially anger. Such inner dissatisfaction is the fuel upon which destructive emotions such as anger and hostility depend. Therefore, just as extinguishing the initial sparks is a more effective method of preventing fire damage than waiting until the fire is blazing, in the same manner, dealing with the underlying causes of discontentment is a more effective way to prevent destructive emotions from doing damage than waiting until the emotions become full-blown. So, recognizing that we have to remove the trigger that causes us to instinctually react to the outside thing. If we are to succeed in effectively tackling our destructive tendencies, first of all, we must observe and study them closely. This is the mechanics of them. For dealing with destructive propensities, it is not merely a matter of suppressing them. Our emotional and psychological habits can be very deep-seated and often have developed over a course of many years. And I think we can even say many lifetimes. So if we do not address such emotions honestly, but bottle them up, this can potentially have very counterproductive effects. In fact, ignoring or suppressing emotions can continually aggravate them and make them intensify until they surge to the surface and, like a swollen river bursting its banks, find expression in unexpected negative thoughts and behaviors. Instead of suppressing our destructive emotions, therefore, we must be open and honest with ourselves and bring mindful awareness to what triggers them, how they make us feel, what kind of behavior they provoke. This kind of introspective attentiveness to the way these emotions arise within us and manifest in our behavior is what I call emotional awareness. It is only by practicing such awareness, by facing these emotions directly and giving them careful scrutiny, that we can gradually bring them under control. So, developing this awareness, recognizing the dynamic, really recognizing the way we behave, analyzing and acknowledging that we develop the ability to actually hold ourselves back from reacting instinctually. What is that process called?
Ratio sedation.
It's called meditation.
Meditation.
It is real meditation, familiarizing ourselves, analyzing, really coming to see the way in which we react, seeing the sort of the it might be pride, it may, and this dissatisfaction that provokes our sense of entitlement to having things go in a certain way. You were talking about the your own reputation or whatever being challenged by this poor person who had made a mistake, and it's the problem is that pride that is pierced or pricked or challenged. The more you see that, the more you familiarize yourself with that, the more you're able to catch yourself before you react.
So here it says mindful awareness. That's the same as we say.
I hope so. Yeah, mindful awareness. So mindful, you're trying to be aware. You're trying to develop an awareness of how you behave. And you have to maintain some kind of control over your mind in order to have that awareness, right? So I think that's how those two terms are being used there.
I have a question. So pride is a mental factor, and anger is also a mental factor. So, in my case, the pride, the mental factor, cause the anger. They arrive at the same time.
Well, I don't know that it's pride, but there's a sense of self, ego, yeah, that is being provoked, and then you get angry at the cause of it, that poor person.
Terrible. It's terrible.
No, I think it's important for us to think, how wonderful. Here is a situation that enabled me to really recognize stuff that I have to do on myself, work I have to do. Instead of judging ourselves in if we think, we're all sort of flawed beings. And this process of acknowledging and working on it, it's these situations that provide us with the stuff to work on. So you can thank her. Was it a her or a him?
Her. Yeah. But interesting to think about not just the anger, but it's mixed with pride and the other mental factors.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes out to anger.
Well, it comes out as pride too.
It comes out to pride too.
It's each of them.
So I would say thank you for bringing this example. It's very real, realistic problems that we have. But sometimes with our ego won't say it out, right? Because, I don't want people to say, see me, that I have such a big ego, or my ego DNA, that. But thank you for sharing this. It's the real problems that we all have. This is like meditation.
I can think about it more. Meditation. I have another question, but so right now I'm not angry, but I know I'm going to get angry if something triggers like His Holiness says. Where is the anger right now? Is it not here? So it's...
Yeah, it's not here. I mean, when you are triggered, the anger will erupt. Yeah. It'll come.
So it's like you went back to sleep, right?
They're sleeping right now, I guess.
So the part that sort of remains there constantly is the ego. And what's interesting is that we all have this sense of self. We're proud, when people say nice things to us, whatever, when things don't go the way we want, we get angry. So that sense of self remains. The self that is at the core of that sense of self doesn't exist. The Heart Sutra is the sutra in which, in that discussion between Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, this lack of self is expressed. And it's important for us to think about that too. We go through this process of analytical meditation by which we work at countering the ways in which the self, we react to the self being provoked. But we also have to think, this is maybe a more Buddhist exercise, about the fact that there's no self. When we really look among all the parts, there is no self. And to complement the meditation or the contemplation that we've been discussing this evening, to read about emptiness, to read about this lack of an actual inherently existent self among the parts that make us up. To think about that, to begin to actually understand this notion of there not being a self, that also really helps. I think we have to do both. I think that's important. How are we doing? We're doing okay. This is quite a discussion.
I was just going to say that.
Thank you,
In
Junichi.
terms of I was just looking at the 8 verses in Training of the Mind, and the notion that we should be thankful when people, mistreat us or get us angry, and that there's a potential source of enlightenment for us.
Now, this is very difficult to do when we are actually provoked.
Right.
However, to think about it, the reason that we read those verses, those 8 verses for training the mind, and if there is a moment of reflection where we think, it is true that person has provided me with the opportunity to develop patience, that helps develop that muscle of patience. But it's really tough on the spot. Okay, so well, we'll go to the end of this. We must be open and honest with ourselves and bring mindful awareness to what triggers them when they make us feel, how they make us feel, and what kind of behavior they provoke. This kind of introspective attentiveness to the way these emotions arise within us and manifest in our behavior is what I call emotional awareness. It is only by practicing such awareness, by facing these emotions directly and giving them careful scrutiny, that we can gradually bring them under control. Here again, it is worth considering our behavior in terms of the 3 dimensions at the level of body, speech, and most important, mind. If we can maintain introspective attentiveness to these 3 aspects of our experience and behavior, then we can, by stages, develop an emotional awareness which will be very helpful in restraining our negative impulses. That's where we shall stop this evening. Well, that's your homework. Our homework.
But then we get the same homework every week.
Every lifetime.
Until you attain enlightenment.
I should have seen that.
Okay. And no comments? No more?
Yeah, there was a time to write.
Say it. Just read it.
Okay. Pippi says, the clinging to a permanent self is what causes us to hold on. At the moment of triggering, we are immediately relapsing into the notion of self. Best time to practice and ultimate test. It took me a long time to truly understand the value of the 8 verses. Not easy.
So, we shall recite the 8 verses, but we'll begin with the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. Here we are thinking about recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, the doctrine, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the spiritual community. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion. Virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path of liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. The 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness, directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my others. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the ego, and by understanding all phenomena like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. And a prayer for the swift return of Dr. Trungpa Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Tuwam Dojechan. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the victor of Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you will withdraw the activities of the form body that serve the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you to seeking existence and to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, born by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish fulfilling joy. Return as the glory of Rosamtempe. Magnificent truth of the three precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the incarnation's fresh moonlight face. Thank you. So on Wednesday we have class in South Orange, New Jersey at 7 o'clock, 502 North Ridgewood Road, South Orange, New Jersey. And on Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon we have the White Tara Puja, also in South Orange, New Jersey.